Right now, in the corner of a doorway you walk past every day, a spider is sitting dead still at the center of its web, and it is listening to the whole garden. Not with ears. It doesn't have any. And here's the strange part. You hear the world with two small ears, one on each side of your head. And from the tiny difference between them, your brain builds a whole map of sound. Two ears fixed to your skull. Now picture hearing instead with a net far bigger than your entire body. A net you spun thread by thread out of your own belly and strung across the open air. That is closer to what a spider does. I'm Ren, and the animal I want to sit with today is one you have brushed out of a doorway 100 times without a second thought. The spider, nearly blind, completely silent, and quietly reading the air through a structure it builds outside its own body. So let me try, carefully, to take you inside. There's an old idea in biology I lean on in every one of these, from a man named Jakob von Uexküll. He called it the Umwelt, an animal self-world. Not the world as it truly is, but the thin slice of it that one particular body is built to sense. Yours is made mostly of light and a band of sound, and it feels complete. It isn't. It is only the part of the world you happen to have organs for. And the spider's organs point straight at a part of the world you mostly ignore, the faint tremor hiding inside everything. So start with what the spider does not have. Most web-building spiders see very poorly. A spider can have 8 eyes and still barely make out more than light, shadow, and a vague blur of motion right in front of it. And it has no ears at all, nothing like the drum and bones inside your head. By your standards, it is nearly blind and completely deaf, and yet it is not cut off from the world, not even close. Because for a spider, the world does not arrive as pictures, or as sound the way you know it. It arrives as vibration. Every surface it touches is trembling, faintly, all the time, and the spider feels those trembles through its legs. Set into the legs are rows of tiny slit-shaped sensors, called slit sensilla, that read the smallest strains and shivers running through whatever the spider is standing on. It does not so much look at the world or listen to it. It feels the world humming up through its feet. And now the web. We tend to think of a spider's web as a trap, a net for catching flies. It is that, but it is also, and this is the part that stops me, a sense organ, an enormous one. When the spider sits at the center and lays a leg on each main thread, the whole web becomes an extension of its body, an ear spread across the open air, catching vibrations over an area hundreds of times larger than the spider itself. Anything that touches the web sends a tremor racing inward along the silk, and every kind of event has its own signature. A fly, tangled and struggling, makes one pattern, sharp and irregular. A raindrop makes another. Wind gusting through makes a broad, dull shudder the spider learns to ignore. And a male approaching a female's web to court her plucks the threads in a careful, deliberate rhythm, a kind of knock at the door, so that he is read as a suitor and not as dinner. The spider, sitting perfectly still, feels each of these arrive and knows which is which, all from the shape of the shiver in the silk. And it can even tune the instrument. By tightening or loosening threads, by pulling them taut with its legs, a spider can change how the web carries vibration, the way you might tighten a drum head to change its note. It is feeling for the music of things that move. And here's the finding that reframed the whole picture. In 2022, researchers led by Junpeng Zhou and Ron Miles at Binghamton University showed that orb weaver spiders respond to sound traveling through the air, not by hearing it with any part of the body, but through the web. The silk is so fine and so light that passing sound waves make the threads themselves move, and the spider, feeling that, effectively hears sound that arrives across its web. The web is not only a net and not only a sense of touch. It is an outboard eardrum, an antenna for sound, strung up in the air. And that is the thing I cannot get past. Think about where your most important senses live. Your eyes, your ears, they are part of you, carried inside your own head, grown once and kept for life. The spider's most important sense organ is not part of its body at all. It is out there, in the air, made of silk. It built its own ear, and it does not keep it for life. A web takes damage, collects dust, loses its tension, and so many spiders tear the whole thing down and rebuild it, often every single night, spinning a fresh sense organ out of their own body before dawn. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine that hearing meant weaving a new pair of ears each evening and hanging them across the room, then sitting in the middle and filling the entire space through them, and weaving them again the next night. That is a spider's ordinary evening. Its way of meeting the world is something it makes, breaks, and remakes outside its own skin, and I have to be honest with you about how we know this. We never climbed inside a spider. We built this whole picture from the outside, from patient experiments like Joe and Miles's on web-borne sound. We can describe what the web carries in beautiful detail, what it is like to sit at the heart of that trembling net and feel a garden arrive as a chord of vibrations that stays on the far side of a wall we cannot cross. It is our best guess, and I want to mark it clearly as a guess. In 1974, a philosopher named Thomas Nagel wrote a famous essay with a haunting title, What Is It Like to Be a Bat? His point was this: you could learn every fact about a creature's senses, every organ, every signal, and still never know the one thing that matters most, what it feels like from the inside to be that creature in this world. I can tell you the spider feels the world through its web. I cannot hand you the feeling any more than I could explain a color to someone born blind. We can map the senses. We can never quite feel the feeling. And the humility is the beautiful part. This is not a lesser mind fumbling its way toward ours. It is another mind, genuinely and unreachably other. But before you go, let me turn the whole thing around and point it back at you. Because without noticing, you have carried an assumption this entire time, that a sense is something you are born with, something that lives inside the body. Eyes in the skull, ears on the head. And here is a creature that hangs its hearing out in the open air, spins it fresh each night, and reads an entire garden through a net far larger than itself. There is no single correct way to meet the world. There is no ladder with dull creatures at the bottom and us flattering ourselves near the top. There are only different instruments. Yours happen to be sealed inside your skull, grown once and never rebuilt, and you have mistaken that one arrangement your whole life for simply what it means to sense anything at all. So here is what I would love to know down in the comments. If you could feel your whole home the way a spider feels its web, every footstep and voice and gust arriving as its own tremor through the floor, would you want it, or would it be too much to bear? There is no right answer. I just want to hear yours. I read every one. If sitting quietly at the edge of another mind is your kind of strange, subscribe and stay close. There is a whole planet of them out there, thinking in ways we will never fully reach. And next time, we'll go and find another one. I'm Ren. Mind the quiet you can't feel.